Welcome to Test Room, your go-to hub for professional knowledge sharing. In this web service tutorial series, we have covered key concepts like what web services are, along with an overview of WSDL, UDDI, and Open API specification. We also introduced SOAP and RESTful services. Today, we will dive deeper into key differences between SOAP and REST. Comparison number 1. Protocol versus architectural style. SOAP is a protocol, whereas REST is an architectural style. SOAP is a protocol with a strict guidelines for the communication between the client and server is defined by W3C, where W3C stands for World Wide Web Consortium, engaging a standardized format for message exchange between the client and server. Whenever you are using a SOAP, it's basically a protocol that defines a standard for the communication between the two applications or two systems. Whereas REST is an architectural style based on the 6 constraints. We have gone through these 6 constraints in our earlier videos. These 6 architectural constraints provides more flexible and scalable in terms of designing the web services. REST is said to be loosely coupled. Since SOAP is very strict in terms of its protocol, it adds a bit of complexity in designing the SOAP services. Comparison number 2, message format. SOAP supports only one message format to exchange the information between a client and server, which is in XML format, and the entire message is encapsulated in a specific structure. It starts with an envelope followed by a header. Header is an optional and then a body. The rest messages can be of various formats depending upon how your RESTful service is being designed, right? It supports XML, it supports JSON, it supports HTML, it supports a plain text as well. But JSON is most commonly used because of its lightweight and it is easy to parse. So this is how I have not put the entire message structure. It is the structure of the body. This is how the sometimes the message body looks like in terms of request as well as in response. Comparison number 3, transport protocol. SOAP provides a varieties of protocols like HTTP, SMTP, TCP, and even Java messaging service, that is called JMS. But REST is primarily works with HTTP or HTTPS, which is the secured version of HTTP. Comparison number 4, communication methods. SOAP typically relies on POST for sending a request regardless of the operation. It can be create, update, delete, retrieve, any kind of operation. SOAP always sends the POST messages. Whereas REST basically uses the standard HTTP methods, which can be get, post, put, patch, delete, head, and options to perform the create, read, update, and delete operations. For the create operations, it uses the post method. For the read operation, it uses the get method. For an update operation, it uses put and patch. If it is a partial update, it uses a patch method, and for delete operation, it uses the delete methods. Comparison number 5, statefulness. SOAP messages are generally statefulness. That means that the server retains information about client's previous request. This means the server logic bit complex. Whereas REST architectural constraint says that REST is statelessness. That means server does not keep a track of client's previous request. It is the responsibilities of the client to send all the information needed by the server to fulfill the request. Let us consider an example of an e-commerce shopping application. Here, the user has already added few items into the cart. Now he wanted to update the cart by adding another item. If this application follows a SOAP protocol, then whenever the user wants to update the shopping cart, the client application would only need to send the details of a new item being added to the cart. This is because the server already maintains the state of the shopping cart, so the client need not have to include the previous cart count. This is called as a statefulness. If this web service is RESTful web service, then whenever a user wants to add a new item into a cart, the client application would need to send the details of the new item being added to the cart along with the current state of the cart, that is the cart's previous count, right? This is because REST is statelessness, meaning that server does not store the state of the cart between the requests. So it is client request to send all the information needed to update the count, update the cart along with the previous cart count. Comparison number 6, security. SOAP has a built-in security features like WS security, which basically encrypts the message that is being exchanged between the client and the server, as well as from server to client, thereby maintaining or ensuring the confidentiality and integrity. In case of REST, it relies on HTTP based security methods like SSL or TLS method. For additional security, it also uses OAuth for authentication and authorization. So SOAP is highly secured. Because of this high security and strict standards, it is used in the application like financial transactions or the enterprise systems. Comparison number 7, implementation complexity. SOAP services are complex to implement due to its strict protocol and high security standards. Whereas REST, since it is loosely coupled and driven by the architectural constraint, it is simple to use and simple to implement. Most of the modern APIs are REST based APIs. Comparison number 8, performance. SOAP is heavier since it uses the XML format to exchange the data between client and server. Whereas REST is more lightweight and typically faster because it uses the simpler data formats like JSON and don't require any strict messaging structure. Comparison number 9, error handling. SOAP has a specific error handling structure called as a fault, which is part of the response body. Okay, in case the server is not able to process the request, it sends the error message back to the client as part of the response body with the tag called SOAP fault. But in case of REST, it uses the HTTP and HTTPS error codes, status codes like 200 for OK, 400 for not found, and 500 for internal server error. This will be as part of the JSON structure. Comparison number 10, use cases. The SOAP is suited for the application that requires high level of security, strict standards and reliabilities, mostly used with the financial services and enterprise systems. Okay, whereas REST, it is ideal for simpler stateless operation, especially for the public facing APIs and mobile and web application due to its lightweight in nature. That brings us to the end of this session. I hope you enjoyed learning about comparison between SOAP and REST with me. If you like this session, please consider supporting my channel by subscribing. Thank you for watching.